Hey guys, it's Lexi. So I'm here today with a little video. As some of you may or may not know, I'm a transfer student, so I figured I could give some transfer advice or even just some general freshman advice for people going into college. If you're looking at colleges, thinking about colleges, don't know where you should go, all the factors that go into that. So let's hop right in. So I basically wrote everything down on my notebook just so that I didn't forget everything. And when I was thinking about transferring, I wasn't really sure if I should transfer. So I've picked out like some guidelines of things that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about transferring. If you feel like you should transfer, maybe you're just simply not happy there. You don't really feel safe in the environment that you're in. For me personally, when I wanted to transfer, my mood was like so bad, I didn't even want to eat. And for anybody that knows me, I eat like a lot. You don't really want to go out. You don't want to hold any type of conversations. I'm not even really like a go out type of person, but I do talk on a regular. So for me personally, when I didn't want to talk anymore and I didn't want to talk, that's kind of like when I knew like I'm not happy in my environment, and I knew that I needed to make a change. I also was in a position where I had a lot of roommates and I loved all my roommates. For me, my living situation was something that was really important to me. So I had 7 other roommates, not including me, and we all shared one bathroom. That worked for some of them. It just personally, it did not work for me, to the point where I was having a lot of like anxiety attacks. I couldn't just wait to like go to sleep. I just didn't want to be in the room. By the time the sun came up, I was out of the room, and when the sun came back down, obviously I had to go back in. So once that started happening and my mood changed, and the only thing that made me happy was literally sleeping, I was like, yeah, this is not the place for me and it's time to go. So then fast forward to when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna transfer. I was like, how do I transfer? That's the main question that I had, and everybody thinks it's self-explanatory, but a lot of people don't know um, how really to transfer. So it really just depends on the school that you're at. Specifically with my school, you could transfer out anytime, but I think it's getting into another school that really depends. Sometimes schools will let you in term wise, or it'll be semester wise. It kind of just depends on the school. If you maybe decide that you don't want to attend that school anymore early enough, which some people do, some people don't. I was one of those people where I decided early enough that I didn't want to be there. I switched all my classes that were in person to online before the add or drop period deadline, which isn't that big of a window gap, but for me personally, I knew I didn't like it there, so I didn't want that W on my transcript, even though it's not the end of the world. But for me, I didn't want that on my transcript. I also, while I was there, and then when I ended up coming back home, I looked at schools that I possibly wanted to transfer to, but I still was in like a weird like headspace where like I was supposed to have this freshman experience, and then I ended up coming back home. So I kind of was in this era where I wasn't trusting myself, and I should have been more trusting, but it's all a process. I would also look at the application deadlines for those schools that you want to go to, because some of them are a lot sooner and some of them are later. For instance, the school that I'm going to now, the University of Georgia, for their spring admission, the deadline was August 15th. So you had to get everything in by August 15th. But then there was another school that I applied to. That deadline was until like November 1st. So every school varies. You just have to make sure you're on top of those application deadlines and make sure you send all of those transcripts, because if they don't have all of your stuff, they're not going to look at your application, and it's just going to delay the process, and it delays everything else, going back from financial aid to your housing to your, it's just a mess. I would also say the biggest thing is to not rush yourself, which is something that I was doing in the beginning. When I came home during that fall semester, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go somewhere for that spring. But I just knew deep down that, like, moving to where I was in Florida and then coming back home and then having to move again, like, it was just a lot. Like, it was just, a lot to do, and not just me. It was a lot to do with my parents too. So I would say don't rush yourself. Like, look at your options, explore your options, but don't rush yourself into a decision that you won't be ready for, because then you're just gonna fall back in the same place. I would also go to transfer, like, admissions, like, sessions. All schools basically have them. So basically there's like these live, like, Zoom links that you go into, and they tell you about the school, they tell you about the opportunities that they hold for transfer students, and then they just give you a lot of information. They tell you how you can get scholarships, they tell you about the school. Sometimes as a transfer student, they'll give you some, like, merit scholarships as well too, so it's always good to go to those. Also, if it's a more, like, prestigious school, it's good to go to these transfer sessions, because once you, like, log in and you use your email, they can attach your email and they'll look up that you went to these sessions, and that's for people coming in to college as well. When you're in high school, I would go to as much, like, information sessions as you will, because they will see your name and it'll be in their database, and they'll be like, oh, so and so went to this, and they'll see that you're really interested. So when you're interested in them, they're interested in you. A big thing that I was worried about when I was transferring colleges was how to receive money. And this was because I didn't really learn about the whole, like, financial aid and, like, merit, because I was so athletically based. So I basically just banked everything on my track scholarship, and I didn't really, like, learn about the different scholarships that they have. Like, they have a scholarship for just you being left-handed. Like, they have all these different scholarships that you'll be able to get as an incoming freshman or as a transfer student. Just as a side note, for me personally, when I was looking at scholarships for transfers, I realized that there was a little bit less for transfer students than there were for, like, incoming freshmen, coming straight out of high school. But I would just say there's always money out there. So, like, I would say try not to get too discouraged with that. Every school is different, but some schools offer, like, merit scholarships. Some are based, like, on your GPA or your extracurricular activities. So some schools, like, say you have above a 3.5, that's like $20,000 towards your annual, like, tuition. But it really just depends on the school. Some schools also have scholarships that are specifically for transfer students, but like I said, it's different. So you kind of just have to look at the school that you want to go to their website, and you have to look at their guidelines that they want you to meet for all of these scholarships. I would also say make sure that you do your FAFSA. That's very important, and make sure you do it right. With FAFSA, it's kind of tricky because the earlier you do it, the better, as far as, like, adding, like, your school code and everything like that. But I would be selective on, like, how many schools, like, you give, like, your financial, like, information to, just because you don't really want everybody in your business. But FAFSA, the earlier you do it, the better. The earlier you send it to the school you want to go to, the faster that they can give you an estimate on what your tuition, may be. So FAFSA is very important. And I would also make sure that you submit the right code. I had a little incident this past semester. Well, actually, it was my mom's fault, but it's okay. We're not going to get into that. It's all right. She accidentally inputted the wrong code for the school that I'm currently attending. So I think it was like a week before classes were supposed to start, and they had said that they never received my financial aid information, and we were so confused because we were like, wait, we did that in like July. So when I called them, they were like, oh, I see what happened. You guys put in the wrong code. And we were like, so you couldn't like tell us that before? Just so you know, FYI, some colleges, they really just care about money. I'm not going to say they don't care about you, but it was that easy for them to look up that we put in the wrong code, but they couldn't tell us when we did it back in July, so they waited. To make a long story short, we had to put down a pretty big payment or else I was going to be dropped for this semester. So make sure that you put in the right code for your FAFSA, and when you send it to schools, even call and double check. That's another thing. You have to call these schools. You have to call admissions. You have to call the financial aid. You have to call like everybody. And even if they don't answer, you leave a message. If they don't call you back the next day, then you call back again. Like, you just have to stay on top of them. All right. How do you know if you're going to make the right choice? This was something that was very difficult for me because, like I said, I had went to a school before, left, packed up everything, bought everything, got there, settled in, hated it. So therefore, the trust that I had within myself was very, 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 very different. So I would say how to make the right choice. It's only something that you'll know. Me personally, I had to tune out outsiders. I had to tune out the people that were around me. Like, I was listening, but ultimately I knew it had to be my decision. Like, I had to mature a little bit. Like, you can't be like, oh, mom, what should I do? Oh, dad, what should I do? Because they can't tell you. What they think that you should do may not be the path for you. So you really have to think for yourself. For me, I had to think with my heart. A lot of people, which is me, I'm an overthinker. So sometimes I'll think about something that I'm like, oh, what if that happens? Or what if this happens? Or what if that? Like, I just go on a rampage and it's absolutely terrible. So when it came to schools, I thought about where in my heart I feel like I needed to be. And I didn't even think about the external factors that came along with it because I know my thought process is a little different from everybody else's. I would say you'll make the right choice when you feel like all the opportunities there can better you as a person, not just a student, but as a person. So me personally, going to the University of Georgia, I feel like that school can better me as a person. And I feel like it can mature me a little bit more. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunities there that will lead me in the right direction that I personally want to go in my life. A big one for me too was you shouldn't have to give up something that's important. Of course, in life there's sacrifices that you have to make, but if something is that important to you, then you should not have to give that up. For example, me personally, my living situation is important to me. It may not be important to somebody else, but it's important to me. So I kind of just stand true to that. Lastly, for me, I feel like if it feels like home away from home for you, then that's the place that you need to be. no place is going to be exactly what you want. It's going to have exactly what you want. There's going to be pros and cons to every situation. But if you have more cons than you have pros, then that's not it. But if it feels like that can be your home, you can grow there, you can do well there, then again, aside from academics as well, because academics is very important, but there is also life without academics too. So in your personal life, if you really feel like you can grow, then that is the place that you need to be. All right, and the last topic is, do I stay in state or out of state? Again, I know I said this a lot, but it's up to you. Which I'm really like annoyed that I'm starting to use that, because I'm starting to sound like my mom. Because when my mom and I had all of these conversations, she was like, it's up to you, Alexis, it's up to you. And I was like, I know it's up to me. Like, stop telling me it's up to me. Like, I know that. But really, I get where she's coming from now. It really is up to you. I'm trying to figure out how to put it into better words, but I don't really know. But only you can know like how much like you can handle. And I'm speaking from personal experience from somebody who limited themselves for years. Like, I didn't think that I can achieve something. I didn't think I can go this big. I didn't think I could do that. Do not limit yourself. Like, go after what you want. You know what I mean? I'm just recently learning that life is like really short for you to be saying, oh, I don't want to go here because this might happen. Like, just cut it out. Like, stop. So for me, being a transfer student and recently having gone out of state and having to go back, I was 1,000+ miles like away from my family, but clearly not too long because I came back home. So I was nervous to go back out of state, but I knew that I wanted to, if that made sense. But like I said, you really just have to learn how to trust yourself again, and you have to learn that when you are going through, you know, these phases, it is really bettering you as a person and you are maturing. Transfer students, I feel like, have it a little differently than incoming freshmen. As an incoming freshman, you are going straight from high school, you know, right into college, and then sometimes you do that 4 years there. Transfer students, they either, you know, do the 2 years at home and they go somewhere, or they go to another university and then they switch. It's really hard to be somewhere. Like me personally, I'm at a college right now. I have some friends. To go to another college where I don't know anybody, you know, so that's hard to have to keep like moving around here, meeting new people, wondering if you'll click with someone, wondering if you'll have a friend group. Like, that's nerve-wracking. It really is. But one thing that I kept reminding myself was that even though I only stayed home for about a year and a half, I had to recognize that I did grow a lot. And I don't have the same mindset that I did from when I first came out of high school. Like, even just picking a school to transfer to, I had an entire different needs and want list that I did when I came out of high school. I was like completely naive when I came out of high school. I'm not going to say I was stupid. I don't like that word. Not that I was stupid. I think I was like naive to the fact where I just was like, oh, like, I'm gonna go to school, like, I'm gonna go to class, like, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna do that. Like I said before, I'm not really a partier, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna go to class, and then I'm gonna go to practice, because that was my high school routine. But then I forgot about all the external factors, like me coming home, not having to pay bills, coming home and having food that was already ready for me. You know what I mean? Like, there's just different factors that I didn't think about when I was coming out of high school throughout. It was hard for me, but you don't have the same mindset. And for me, it doesn't matter if you maybe stayed home for a semester, 2 semesters, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. Like, we grow as people, and as time goes on, we learn more about ourselves. So I definitely hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It was something that I really wanted to make, as it was something that I personally went through. And I hope that I helped you guys with any, questions that you might have had. Make sure to press that subscribe button and turn the bell on as well. Leave a like and a comment. You guys are always welcome to comment any other questions that you have for me. I'm willing to answer them.